Hello guys, in today's video we'll be discussing something very important when it comes to calling in bulk. We'll be discussing dynamic variables that we often use during the calls. Suppose you're planning to deploy calls to 1,000 leads, right? These 1,000 leads would have 1,000 different names. There are some variables that are different for each lead, right? Like name, their college, their stream, their graduation degree, their year of passing. This is different for different leads, right? When we talk about dynamic variables, it helps you assign the correct lead attributes to the correct number. If you see on the screen, let's start with the welcome message. It will be a very simple example to understand how to use dynamic variables and why dynamic variables exist. We always start with a welcome message. We covered this in the previous video. As I said in the previous video, we can have a welcome message like this. Am I speaking with lead underscore name? What does this mean? That the agent has to greet all 1,000 leads with this sentence. This sentence contains the name of the lead. So we cannot have a hard-coded name for all of the leads. We cannot go ahead and change it in every agent, or we cannot go ahead and change it for every call. So we put a dynamic variable. There is a particular format to put a dynamic variable. So first of all, you have to use double curly braces, and inside you can use an alphanumeric tag, but you have to make sure that there are no spaces between it. That's why we have used an underscore here. Now, when you deploy it for 1,000 leads, right? The leads should have these dynamic variables. There should be one column for the phone numbers. The other column should be named as lead name. So each phone number is associated with its lead name, and the agent would pick it up from that file. Every sentence on different calls would be different. So if the agent is calling me, it will say, hello, am I speaking with Anzar? If it's calling my friend, it would say, hello, am I speaking with Kashinath? Similarly, for all 1,000 leads, it would keep on changing this variable according to what has been mapped against that number in your CSV file. That's how dynamic variables work. You can use them n number of times in the prompt. You can have n number of dynamic variables. You can use all of them in a single sentence as well. I'll just give you an example. If you look at this sentence, it contains 4 dynamic variables in the same sentence. How the agent is going to speak these sentences. So, Anzar, I see that you studied CAC at IIT Bombay and passed out in 2023. So this is how you use dynamic variables in the agent script. You can use it in the welcome message, you can use it in the agent prompt. So there is something associated with these dynamic variables called as fallback settings. What does this do and why is this called fallback? Because in case you miss putting an attribute in your CSV file against the phone number, the agent should not hallucinate. So you should put in some values in the default dynamic variables that the agent will pick up in case any of these dynamic variables is missing in your CSV file. For example, in your CSV file, you put in name, you put in the degree, you put in the college, but the year of graduation you do not have available in your lead data. So what should it do? So you can put a default graduation year of maybe 2023. For all such leads where the data for the graduation year is missing, it would speak 2023. So depending upon how your sentences are structured in the agent prompt or in the welcome message, we actually decide what the default value should be. Let's take another example with lead name. What happens if I do not have the lead name available? What should I do? Or how my sentence formation should look like? For this, we'll consider the welcome message. Hello, am I speaking with lead name, right? If I leave it blank in my CSV file, what should the agent do? The agent can hallucinate, it can invent a name of its own. Default dynamic variables, if you put in Raj, Rahul, any of these things, this would not be a very good customer experience. Calling someone with a false name would not make sense, right? Most probably they'll say it's a wrong number and they'll disconnect the call. The hack is keeping it blank, but you cannot keep it blank because you have to save a value here. So what you do is you just put a full stop. This default value would be inserted in this sentence. So what would it become? Hello, am I speaking with? Based on the LLM's own intelligence, it usually replaces it with am I speaking with you instead of the name. Wherever the name is not there, it would replace it with you because the LLM has to complete the sentence. So it would be hello, am I speaking with you? Depending upon how you use the dynamic variables and where do you use them in your agent prompt, you can decide what the default value for each variable should look like. So that's up for today. Thank you so much. See you in the next video. Bye bye.